And Patrick, you're going to tell us about your merge request. Please take it away.
Yes, so I'm gonna share my screen. So we're gonna talk about this merge request. It's a merge request on the GitLab shell project. So the goal was to reroute some calls that were made when we were doing some Git pulling and Git cloning. So this is how it used to work before. So the client requests the Git shell for Git clone, for instance. Yeah, it's with Geo. It's with Geo when we have a secondary site and a primary site. So what would happen is that the client will make a request for Git pulling or Git cloning. We would request some authorization first, get those authorization, request for an upload to upload the packs, to have like all the details of what needs to be uploaded to the all the commits that needs to be uploaded. This would be rerouted to the primary site through Workhorse. It would come back with a response. And then we request the data stream to be the data that needs to be pulled. Again, that's where we had a problem, because here those requests, those ones can be pretty long, sometimes more than 30 seconds. So it goes to the primary, and then we have an answer back. But sometimes Workhorse, when it's more than 30 seconds, it can time out. Workhorse and Rails, it can time out. So those needed to be changed. This is a diagram made by Igor, by the way, who helped me with this through the whole process. Yes, Sean?
You changed the timeouts for this.
Timeout. What do
No,
you mean?
sorry, you said sometimes when it makes these requests more than 30 seconds, it will time out.
Yeah, we didn't change the timeout time. We did Igor and the rest of the team, Geo team, thought of something a little bit more clever.
Okay.
So instead of here, like when we request the stream, instead of going through the secondary site, Workhorse and Rails to request for the stream of data, we go directly to the primary and request the stream here. So the difference is, instead of going first through the Workhorse here, then making and just proxying the request, then having the answer and proxying the answer, where here it could time out, we just go directly to the source, where here like then GitLab shell doesn't time out. So or maybe it does, but I don't know how long it takes. But yeah, it doesn't time out after a minute or 30 seconds at least, and which is what it's enough for most requests. So that's what the change is. To achieve that, I needed to change a little bit of stuff here, which is the entry point of the upload pack request. This is the controller, would say, or would call it, is like the controller. It gets that's where the request for upload pack is handled. So yeah, so here it's just like this is I don't know if you guys see the whole screen, because I don't, because of you guys' faces. But okay, just placed it out somewhere else. Okay, so here, this is just to do this if this feature flag is enabled. This was done in another MR, but yes, this is just putting a feature flag or giving the feature flag data on this level when we request for authorization keys. We also send back the feature flag data to let them know if it can perform this part of the code instead of the default part of the code, which is here. And in this part of the code, we call the package, the Go package, GitHub HTTP PullCommand, which is the one we created here. So what it does, it's yeah, it's basically calling the HTTP the endpoint to the primary website here with client.go. So it calls the primary client, and with the upload pack command, the body related to what we want to upload. Yeah, execute. So that's what it does here. Yeah, if there is an error, like return the error. And then it does like, yeah, the command upload pack, which is request upload pack, which is here. And that's that's where we actually call the upload pack command. We create a streamable, like, because Go works with strings for strings, and the shell output is a little bit different than the HTTP output, so we need to transform the HTTP output into the shell output. And that's what we're doing here. As soon as we have like, as soon as the reader streams in, and yeah, that's also what it does here. But like here for the PullCommand right now, it doesn't do much, because for the moment only, I don't know if it was fixed, Igor, you can tell us after, but for the moment, the git pull, the HTTP response for the git pull and the GitLab shell response for the git pull are kind of the same. So we just copy the line here and we move forward. I don't know if, but for the git pull, for the git clone is the same, but for the git pull, it's different. So now it just works for the git pull. I don't know if it was fixed by right now for the git. It only works for the git clone, sorry, but I don't know if it was fixed for the git pull. And yeah, here are some tests, and we just, yeah, here in upload pack, yeah, here we just stream the in git pull, we just actually here in request, okay, we close the body, so we stream the response back. So that's what it does. And actually, I had a lot of help from the other MR2, where they did it for receive pack. So I inspired my work mostly out of the receive pack MR to make this MR happen. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Just
Yes,
just a congrats, because that is deep in the weeds, that code right there. That's fiddling with like the Git output, and yeah, I mean, it's complex because before it was Golang, was written in Ruby, and we tried really hard to not put in references to Geo. The whole idea was because there's no EE version, Enterprise Edition of Shell. So there was this custom payload sort of concept to kind of abstract away the Geo sort of Geo terminology. So it is probably a little more complex than it needs to be. So you did really well. It's a really kind of crazy part of the code. So well done.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't understand much of it at first. Igor really had to help me out on this. So a lot of credit goes to him, actually more than to myself. I was just basically writing what I could understand. Yeah, Vasily?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. I was not aware about this part. And I have a question. I noticed that we use GitLab Shell, and we use it mostly for the SSH connections. And we have like Workhorse that we use for HTTP connections. And in this case, we receive the SSH connection and kind of make a HTTP request to the Workhorse to pull the data.
Yeah.
And I was wondering why the reason of this like structure that we use. Cannot we directly call like githttp from the GitLab shell to fetch the data instead of using the Workhorse as some kind of intermediate like component?
Yeah, I really don't know the reason of that. It's more if Igor or Hash knows. Yeah.
I can answer it, but Igor, did you want to have a go?
So actually, yeah, it's related to geo reasons. As far as I remember, that we directly kind of call the githttp, primary githttp from GitLab shell. But Ash can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's probably related to firewalls and access.
Yeah, I think the original reason was that there was no way for githttp to listen remotely or listen. I don't think there was at the stage when the geo logic was being implemented in Shell. I didn't believe githttp could listen TCP. I think it was only socket, so we couldn't talk directly to githttp. And the first iteration of the logic was actually just essentially using HA proxy instead of having the logic handled inside Shell and then kind of proxied under the covers. The request would be not even fielded by the actual GitLab's shell in the secondary. It was bounced over to primary, but it was deemed too complex and that we couldn't impose HA proxy as a requirement for customers. So we had to internally handle it, and it was deemed the easiest first cut was to use essentially HTTP under the covers. So instead of kind of proxying the SSH request, that you would just perform HTTP. Yeah, it's pretty complex. It still blows my mind it works, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, thank you for your explanation. And do we have some plans like to change it, or it's fine the way how it works right now? Just curious.
I'm not aware of any changes, but yeah, go Igor.
I think it's fine. I think it's perfect. Actually, yeah, to be honest, I think now when it's like memory efficient, yeah, when it's like performed in a streaming fashion through GitLab shell, then yeah, I think it's fine. Like all the requirements are satisfied. So I think, yeah, it's fine as it works now. Like the only issue that we have at the moment is that git pull doesn't work, but it's like doesn't work on the previous. I believe customers had issues with the previous version, and like we decided to move forward with this issue. Like we decided to move forward with this merge request and fix the issue in a separate merge request issue. So yeah. Should be fine, I think, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question. I know I did the presentation. So Hash, you said that githttp didn't couldn't work with TCP requests. Does it now, or
I believe so,
has anything
because
changed now?
yeah, Yeah, I
Okay.
believe it can now, and that was to provide end-to-end TLS encryption. I believe was the kind of driving factor there. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's able to listen. I'd have to double check. It may be worth revisiting the original constraints because they may not be relevant any longer. So it's a good question. There might be a more direct way to sort of interact with different pieces without going through so many layers, because that's the ultimate goal of the MR that you've implemented, is to try and improve the performance and reduce how many layers the request goes through. That's a good question.
Ash, I've got a question for you actually.
Sorry.
So no, earlier on you mentioned that we can't impose HA proxy on our customers. So so are we essentially building that proxying functionality into, right? Okay, or we've built it in.
Yeah. Essentially, in depending on the response given back from Rails, we do and if it's detected there's a geo request and it comes back in the response from Rails, then that's where the trickery occurs with redirecting requests. It's not really redirecting, it's proxying, I should say, because the GitLab shell connection is actually doing the sort of heavy lifting. It's in some part. I think it's the git push. We actually do some fiddling with the response, which is I'm always a bit scared about if the Git protocol decides to change or something like that. But yeah, that was the reason why we couldn't impose that. But I believe HA proxy is now part of the Omnibus stack. So, and that again, it may be worth revisiting if we can leverage that.
Interesting.
But yeah, when we discussed it with Mike from GEO team, to be honest, it was also my first idea that we respond with the primary Gitly path, and then we just connect. And I believe the answer was something about that you can connect directly to Gitly from secondary instance to primary instance, either due to firewalls or due to architectural decisions. So you need this workaround, go to access Gitly either through Workhorse or through GitLab shell and or Rails, and so this is why we had to implement something like this.
Right. Well, Patrick, congratulations on that work. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Thank you, Igor, for all the support you gave him during the process. And looks awesome. A great presentation. I'll end the meeting. Bye.
See you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.